Hey guys, it's me Kevin, I'm back, and today I'm going to be tipping round 15 for the AFL season. It's back to 9 games per round. More editing. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, to start off the round, we head to Marvel Stadium on a Thursday night, where Essendon play GWS. I'm going to be tipping GWS. I actually wanted to tip Essendon for some reason, because it's under the roof at Marvel Stadium, but then I thought, well, GWS, they're higher on the ladder than Essendon. I feel Essendon are really consistent. They can play well under the roof. They can potentially beat the Giants, and they've done it last year. But GWS, well, they got the upper advantage against them in round one. And I think GWS are travelling well enough to beat Essendon under the roof at Marvel Stadium. Although, what I'm saying is do not expect to see GWS win. If Essendon win, don't be surprised. I'm going to tip GWS, but don't be surprised if Essendon wins. Friday night, GMHBA Stadium, Geelong versus Adelaide. Well, Geelong, if they've won the last 7 games, in the last 7 years they've won 2 weeks after the bye, then you got to go Geelong. Going to go 8-0, you got to go Geelong at GMHBA Stadium. Like, they never lose there, rarely. Adelaide, they don't have a good track record at that venue either. So, yeah, that's the primary reasons why I'm tipping Geelong. On Saturday afternoon, the MCG, Hawthorn versus the Eagles. Hawthorn just look injury depleted. The Eagles, well, I know the biased MRO, well, put McGovern on suspension again. Well, not again for McGovern, but again for the Eagles. I mean, because we've had like bloody what, Vardy, Jeddah, Rioli. Oh, I swear we've had more suspensions than any club in the AFL. Anyway, despite what the MRO is trying to do, I'm tipping the Eagles because, well, apart from Jeremy McGovern being out, they get Natanui back. They might get Barras back as well. I think they will do. And so I think the Eagles will be rejuvenated. They come off, well, a 20-point win against Essendon. Should have been 80 points. Well, was it 30, sorry. Should have been 80 points, but they still play with a lot of attack on that Thursday night against Essendon. They come off an extra day break compared to Hawthorn, and they're playing an injury-depleted Hawthorn, and the Eagles now play good at the MCG. So, West Coast it is. Saturday twilight at the SCG, Sydney versus Gold Coast. Forget last year, just tip Sydney. Gold Coast, tired, young. Sydney, well, they started playing well. I know they're not the greatest team, but what, they've won like, what's it been, like rounds 8, 9, 12, and 14 now, so that's basically 4 of their last 6 games they've won. And the other 2 games, Collingwood and Geelong, they were very competitive despite losing. Gold Coast, they haven't won a game since round 4. Sydney starting to get some form back, so you tip Sydney. Forget last year's result. Saturday night at Marvel Stadium, or is it the MCG? I don't know. Collingwood versus North Melbourne. Well, tip Collingwood because North Melbourne can't even beat GWS at their home ground, Tassie. Well, not their home ground, but their strong ground, Tassie. Let alone try to beat Collingwood at the MCG. And yes, it is the G, I forgot. Anyway, Collingwood up in second spot. I know they've got Stephenson out. I know they just beat the Bulldogs. But I think Collingwood will be too strong against the Roos. Saturday night at Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide against the Bulldogs. Well, you got to go Port. Is that the same venue as last week? At the same time slot as last week? Same broadcaster? No, hang on, no, it's Fox Footy, never mind. But Port, they beat top of the ladder Geelong. So, well, they should be able to beat bottom 6th place Bulldogs side. Just to put it frank. Port Adelaide, I know they've been inconsistent all year. But, yeah, I don't think they'll beat the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs, well, they were good in defeat against Collingwood the other week. But, yeah, I'm just not convinced. Just as long as Port Adelaide don't get cocky like Fremantle do sometimes, then I think they should be fine to beat the Bulldogs, considering they beat Geelong last week. Sunday afternoon, St Kilda versus Richmond. It's an even game, despite what many people will think. I know the favourites are Richmond, and I'm tipping Richmond myself because St Kilda, I don't think they can beat good sides. They can beat bad sides like the Suns, the Blues, Melbourne, Bulldogs, those sides, but they're not going to beat a side like Richmond. I know Richmond are injury depleted. I know they sit outside the 8 at the moment, but they are still a good club. They're still a strong club, and they're still a determined club, this Richmond club. They might be injury depleted, but surely they're going to beat a side like St Kilda. They should beat them because, yeah, you understand Richmond losing to teams like Adelaide and Geelong because they're in the top 6. So you'll forgive Richmond for losing to them, but they're not going to lose St Kilda. They know that their season's on the line, and that's why I think Richmond will win. Sunday afternoon at the Gabba, one of Brisbane's only matches on free-to-air, Brisbane versus Melbourne. Not that that matters, but I'll tip Brisbane. Melbourne, they played good last week. Let's not get it wrong. Fremantle did get a few injuries, but Melbourne, considering Fremantle one of the best last quarter sides in the competition, or the best, sorry, Melbourne did well to beat them and overrun them in the last quarter. That being said, Brisbane did even better last week, absolutely slaughtering St Kilda in circumstances they haven't won since 2000. It was the first time they beat St Kilda at Marvel Stadium in 20 years. So, Brisbane, back at the Gabba, well, they'll win because they haven't lost at the Gabba all that much at all this year. They've got a strong record at that place. It's turning into a good fortress, that place, for Brisbane. And they'll beat Melbourne, who sits in the bottom 4, compared to Brisbane, sits in the top 6. Tip Brisbane. And Sunday night, Sunday twilight, or Sunday afternoon, WA time, Fremantle versus Carlton. Fremantle are injured, but it's Carlton. Fremantle have a good track record against Carlton, whether it's home or away, and they haven't lost to Carlton at home since that 2016 debacle. Carlton, yeah. I know they won against Brisbane, and they had a good game against the Bulldogs, but in that game against the Bulldogs, it was like they get absolutely smashed in the Bulldogs, then they come back and get ahead, and then they get smashed again, and then they race back, but then they fell short. I think Carlton going to Optus Stadium will... they don't like that place, and I think Freo will win. There isn't a lot to say about that game. So, to recap my tips, I am tipping GWS, Geelong, West Coast, Sydney, Collingwood, Port Adelaide, Richmond, Brisbane, and Fremantle, keeping it safe this week, if you can tell. You like the video, please give this video a thumbs up, please subscribe, tip what you think down below, comment what you think down below, yeah, tip, okay, whatever, same thing, well, share this video to other people, and I'll see you next week, bye.